he looks like he's 90%. He's 90% there. He's missing a little bit, that 10% of like the finishing, especially.
This is LA Kings Fan Talk with your boys, Rodney, Rob, Darren, and Joe.
What's up, everyone? How about them Kings? In a nearly perfect game, the Kings beat the Golden Knights 5-1 to move within 4 points of first place in the Pacific Division. Joe, let's start with you. What were your thoughts on the game?
I thought it was probably one of the best games of the season, if not the best game of the season. Just all around, all 60 minutes. I mean, it basically, aside for letting in the one goal, which you can't fault them for allowing one goal. But yeah, I don't know. I think I was saying earlier, told my wife in the second period, I'm like, this is kind of boring, but in a good way. Like they're just so robotic and completely shut down Vegas. And as Rob mentioned, was it the Kings playing that good or Vegas not playing that great? But I think it was a little bit of both. But I think the Kings had a lot to do with it. So that's my thoughts.
Same. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, it was fun to watch us not struggle against Vegas finally, and those are huge games. We're past the midway point. They're no matter how anyone else looks at it, I'm looking at it as an in-division game with someone that's above you, and to play that well and to win in regulation, it's you couldn't ask for anything more. It was a great game.
What do you think, Darren?
Yeah, it was a good game. I think Anderson and Doughty especially had probably some of their best games defensively. They had 4 or 5 times where they just denied a 3-on-2 coming at them at the line, just completely denied it. I mean, they played that grouping, especially played super well, but the team as a whole, I mean, as the other two have said, we played complete 60 minutes, so probably our best game. So
would have been cool to see Copley get the shutout, but played pretty solid. And his friend's crossbar and post had a good game too, so that worked out.
I was bummed that he didn't get the shutout for sure. I thought for sure that he was going to get it, and yeah, but that happens. Got the win. That's all that matters.
All right, let's talk about Kevin Fiala. How's he doing, Darren? Is he worth that money, or was that a bad signing?
He's probably worth a little bit more now at this point, right? I mean, point per game player for us, and I mean, I've said it multiple times. He's so good. He generates offense regardless who he plays with. And so the fact that we can play him down the lineup and he can still be our leading scorer, that just adds so much depth to our team. It makes us more complete, makes us more dangerous all throughout the lineup. It's awesome to see. He's a fun player to watch.
I think Jarrett Stoll was saying something like, the Kings have not had a player this good. He can't even remember when they've had a player this good. It's good to hear.
I totally agree. I think I texted that last night, but he's got to be the most dynamic player the Kings have had since maybe Palfy, or even better than him. He was hurt so much, but what's really impressive too, aside from all the skill, is the strength, man. The guy is a full-on beast, dude. Just that one goal he scored, or whatever it was, a week or two ago, where he fought off 2 dudes. It's exciting to watch. So, anyways,
yeah, he's there's kind of a little bit of some grumblings about why is our best player playing on the third line, and I understand the grumbling, I really do. But if you got a guy that can make offense regardless of who he plays with, and if you're not limiting the minutes a third line is playing, I mean, it's not a third line if he's out there and he's producing. And thank God he's producing too, because what I would hate to see is him being on that third line and then the third line going dry for a while. And then that's when you could really start going, why is a guy that we're paying this much money to be our best player on our team playing on the third line. So if he's producing down there and making another viable line for us, you can't complain about it.
I think that line has great chemistry too. I
It
mean,
does.
like you got a guy who's great with like possession and good along the wall with Lardy. He also is a great shot, but and then the speed of both Lazat and Fiala just like really complements. I don't know, just they all kind of complement each other. And like even just looking at it on paper before they had done that, it just looks like it would something that would work. So, and obviously, like Fiala's getting the power play time too, so it's he's going to get a couple of minutes a night playing there. So,
well, I think it's funny that people are actually calling it a third line. How can you call a third line with your leading point scorer and your leading goal scorer
yeah,
on a line? So I don't know if it's Blake Lizotte hate that's making people sit there going, why is he on the third line? Stuff like that. But we got three lines that seem to be pretty equal in offensive generation right now, and I think that's why we're being successful and winning.
Right. So before the game, they interviewed Velarde, and they said, "How are you liking Fiala on your line?" And he said, "With somebody that good, I'm just gonna try to get him the puck as much as I can." And sure enough, what does he get? He gets 3 assists last night. So he did what he said he was gonna do. Quentin Byfield, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Darren?
So I went to the game against Dallas last week, and I think that was like the best game he played so far, at least since he came back. That was the first game he was full-time on the top line as well. And I think he played really well. He looks like he's 90%. He's 90% there. He's missing a little bit, that 10% of like the finishing, especially. There's like, how many times did you rush in last night and have a good chance and just didn't quite finish it? So I don't mind him being on that top line. I think when Trevor Moore comes back, he probably loses that spot to Moore Follow, and maybe he goes down to the fourth line if they want to break up that third line. But I don't mind him on the top line, especially with the guy we have injured and stuff like that. So,
what do you think, Rob?
Well, and I like listening to both sides of arguments, and Byfield continues to be a polarizing player on the roster for a lot of Kings fans. People just can't get over the fact that we picked him second overall, and he's not a producing player in the NHL yet. Personally, I think that's a little harsh. He's our youngest kid on the roster, but there's still people out there, and they will compare him to Stützle in Ottawa. That's who he's tied to because that's who we could have had. And as we're recording this right now, Stützle had a hat trick last night. Why isn't Byfield producing at that rate? But for me personally, especially when you got a team, organization that's as deep as the Kings, we got time with a 20-year-old, 6'5". He's still getting his feet as far as I'm concerned. He was a super young draft age when he went in. He was the youngest, because of his birth date. He was draft eligible. So he was already almost a year behind anyways. We almost got a built-in another year. You take a look at a kid like Tage Thompson in Buffalo, who's just tearing it up right now. I'm not saying Byfield's going to be Tage Thompson, but Tage Thompson's 25 years old. I mean,
first good season last year.
Think about this. 5 years. If we just give him the room to grow and put people around him to teach him how to play the game right, I'm willing to see the growth and go through some of the growing pains. But on the other side of it, you're going to sit there and say, why is a kid drafted second overall only have 4 points in 14 games? Why isn't he better? Why isn't he better? And bottom line for me is we're in second place. We're playing good hockey. Just lay off him. Just lay off him. Let him grow, and hopefully he pans out for us in the long run. Which I think he still will. I think he will pan out in the long run.
So put him on that Kempe development timeline. That's what you're saying.
Sure, why not? If we're winning, what does it hurt?
If he's just the sprinkles on top of our ice cream sundae, and we don't need him to be, the main course of that, like that's just, you know what I mean? Like, why not?
I agree, 100%.
What was a sweet analogy there, Darren?
You're welcome. I didn't want to say he was the cherry on top because I feel like the cherry is a bigger finisher, but
I'll jump in here. And so I'm not impressed by him so far, but I totally agree with Rob. I'm just being honest, I do think he has started to kind of improve, but nothing like, in my opinion, that's really he's done so far has been impressive. But yeah, we got plenty of time, and we've got a lot of good players, so it's not like we don't have to depend on him. So I guess I get the criticism, second overall, blah blah blah, but I mean, there's no guarantees when you're drafting players, so I think he was drafted in an appropriate position. Maybe if he went third, fourth, fifth. I mean, what does it matter? I mean, it's like, at the end of the day, I mean, you get guys that are great, end up being great players that are picked later on in the first round or even the second round. So, I think it was a good pick, and it will be a bad pick if he absolutely is a bust, but. I mean, you just see him skating around. He has the ability to play in the NHL. I mean, you can tell that he has that skill level. It's just putting it together, and it's going to. Yeah, he obviously needs time too. Like if you're playing 8-9 minutes a night, like it's hard to kind of really break through. And even like look at like Velarde, like he had injuries and whatnot, and so is Byfield too. That's the other thing too. Is he's been injured at least once, last year, and then with a pretty significant injury, and then I don't know if he actually got hurt this year. I heard they said he got sick, so I don't know if it was COVID or something else that shut him down.
It wasn't. It didn't come out what it was, but he was sick.
Yeah, so so I mean, it's not excuses. That's legitimate reasons for stalling somebody's development. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
And even though I say I understand all that stuff, I agree, Joe. He's not impressive, and he's not doing very well. Okay, but yes, you do see the glimmers of the size and the speed and the skill. Hopefully it comes through.
He looks a little timid, like, to be honest. Like, he just doesn't he's not very assertive, and I guess that's the one thing that's maybe a little bit disconcerting, but I don't know. Still, again, there's time's on his side.
Why does he play with Lazat stick? Anybody know?
Why he uses a short stick?
He uses a short stick for a big guy.
Really, I haven't noticed that. I'll take a look at that next time. Maybe he needs Kaliev's tape job on the handle, toilet paper roll.
If you could go back to game 10 or 11 when we had our podcast around then, we're talking about Brandt Clarke being sent down, and I brought up way back then, I don't think they're going to keep him. And we all know he's good. I said, I think he's our best defenseman, not named Mikey Anderson or Drew Doughty. But for some reason, I just felt like we weren't going to use him. And sure enough, here we are. It's official. Brandt Clarke will not be an LA King for this season. They're sending him to the OHL. Now, does a kid with that kind of skill set, a kid that looks like he belongs in the NHL right now, how much good can it be him going and still playing the juniors game? Darren?
I think it'll do him good. I think just playing hockey will do him good. I think the problem for me was if we knew we were going to send him down, why do we wait for 2 extra months or whatever? Why not just send him down after? Give him the 9 games, let him go down. Like, to me, I think at that level, like, kids should just be playing. Like, I don't think it matters. Like, if they go dominate, like, that's fine. I'd rather them just be skating and playing and growing every day. And I get, like, oh, he does practice and stuff like that, but practice is not games. Like, you don't get the same stuff that you would in games. And I think the only thing that frustrates me is they should have either sent him down or sent him down 2 months ago after he played his 9 games, or keep him now. But I know, like, with our right-handed defensemen, like, it's kind of unfeasible. So either they needed to make a trade or something. But
yeah, I don't think it makes any sense why you have Sean Walker on the team and not him. Like it's just I don't know. Like, if that's just like, I think I said in the text message the other day where I don't know if you're just trying to, like, justify his contract or something, or trying to make him tradable, but it's kind of silly. Like, it just, I mean, what's the worst that happens if you bury him in the minors or something? You know what I mean? Like, obviously Clarke's contract's not going to disrupt the salary cap or anything. So, yeah, it's good. And then, like, what Darren's saying too, the whole, like, wait a month and all that kind of crap. It's just kind of, I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know, like, Blake is sometimes just winging it. Like, like, I know he learned from Lombardi, and, like, you think he has, like, some structure, but a lot of times I feel like he just kind of, like, with particularly, like, in the last, whatever, the previous few years where he signs Kovalchuk and all this other crap, like, it's just, like, kind of seems like one band-aid after another. And so, Clarke, or what's it called?
Walker.
Walker and Edler could both, like, just go home as far as I'm concerned. Or sit in the press box. Like, we got better options. It is really strange that you wouldn't have, like, say, even Spence in the lineup. Like, okay, you're gonna move Clarke down there. At least give, like, some of these, like, other guys that I really. I would have Bjornfurt and Spence in the lineup. And then waive Walker. If somebody picks him up, fine. Keep Edler as your seventh, since we have such a glut of righties.
Which is why I think it's weird what they did with Clarke now. He now becomes a not option. So does that mean we're not going to make trades? Because to me, keeping him means we are going to make a trade now, because Walker, Spence, Dursey, Clarke, you have to. So I think what this does now is says, okay, he's not an option. We could stand pat now, which in the grand scheme of things, we're winning, right? So why do you? But everyone knows you need that depth. You got to make that trade for what you're lacking in the season to make that playoff push. So I don't know. I just found it a little weird. I honest, and this is fan talk, right? This is LA Kings fan talk. I'm a big fan of Brandt Clarke. I think he's fantastic. I don't care that he's a little skinny. He's what the new NHL defenseman does. He moves the puck. He thinks the game. He's very, very skilled, and now we don't get to see him for the rest of the season. So
I think it might be the Kings. The Kings want to deal from a position of power. They don't want to make a deal because, now we have to, because now we have all these people on the roster. We have to get rid of somebody, and we're not going to get good value back for them. And even though, everybody wants to bounce Walker, I think they think that he's just good enough to where somebody would pluck him for free, and we won't get any value from him. But yeah,
I think that's fine though. If someone takes Walker off our hands, I mean, everyone cried about us losing Clague. Was it 2 years ago? And, like, what does he become? A sixth defenseman on the Buffalo Sabres? Like, I mean, I don't know. It's not a big deal if we lose if we lose guys like that at the bottom of your lineup, like guys like that move around all the time. We
Like
have enough depth as the Kings to absorb that. It doesn't matter. I mean,
like
Right.
Forbort and Amadio. What are they doing?
Well, for a
First
guy
line?
like Forbort's, yeah. Well,
Forward's
Amadio's,
fine. I mean, but Amadio, when he was here, everyone hated him. Like
he's not a
all the
first
Kings
liner
fans hate
too,
him.
so
No,
It was temporary.
yeah, it's
I
different.
mean, yeah, yeah, I mean, there's always like players like that where who cares about Amadio? Like even everybody cried about the other guy, Kubalik guy too. Like, and I don't know what the situation was why he wouldn't want to sign with the Kings, but it's like, dude, we have so much offensive talent on this team right now. Like why would you even like worry about what happened with those? And like in the case of Walker, somebody's got to go, right? So, and he's kind of
Well,
just we have a glut of right-handers, and he's kind of like the worst one, unfortunately. I mean, I think I feel bad because I think that injury really kind of stopped his progression as a player, and maybe he does start to improve. He goes somewhere else, but again, uh, if you want to look at it this way, if he gets claimed and off waivers, and you have Clarke on the team, like that's like million and a half difference in terms of cap space. So there, you got, it's you have to buy him out at least.
but with Clarke being sent down, now we don't have to let him go.
Well, no, I get that, but I'm saying if they did have him
Right.
up, and you have to get rid of somebody, it's like that's just the way it is. Like you like want to hurt the team for what reason? Like you want to keep a lesser player on the team. That's what doesn't make sense. But if I understand if you feel like the player's got something to work on, but he's an NHL player. You might as well just have him on the team. What good does saving 1 year of his entry level contract matter? I mean, it in the grand scheme of things, it's.
And I'll tell you what, and it's like what you're saying right there, all you guys. So if we lose a guy like Walker, who cares about this? Brant Clarke, I truly believe he's a game changer. Scott Walker, did I just call him Scott Walker?
You did.
Sean.
Sean Walker. Sean Walker is not a game changer. He's a solid defenseman. Okay, he's serviceable.
Yeah.
And in the grand scheme of things, I want a game changer. I don't want a serviceable guy in the lineup. That's why I'm just a little dumbfounded by the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a good point when you put it that way.
Yep.
So you want all the defensemen to be game changers? How awesome would that be? No serviceable
Bunch of
defensemen,
jerseys.
all game changers. All right, second line. You guys ready? With Iafallo and Deneau and Arvidsson playing very well together, did Moore lose his spot on the second line? What do you think, Darren?
I think he has, at least temporarily. I think if their play dips at all, he could probably slot back in. But I mean, we know I said this at the beginning of the year. Like, if there's a line to break up, it's the three of Moore, Deneau, and Arvidsson, because we know they have chemistry, and we almost had instant chemistry. I mean, when they've all kind of missed games throughout the season, but when they get back together, they're right back to doing what they do.
So if Moore came back tomorrow, are you going to break up that second line, or are you going to throw him somewhere on the fourth line until some other lines falter?
I'd probably put him in the QB spot and just move Quinton down, and Moore with Kopitar and Kempe, and put Quinton Byfield down on the fourth line instead of Kupari or something.
This segment's going to turn into not talking about the second line, and it's going to turn into what should the lines be? Because you're bringing it up, Darren. You really are. I sit there and I'm just thinking about all the different, when Moore comes back, when Kaliev comes back, how different the lines are.
Yeah.
People have to be moved, and on my side of it, I don't think Moore loses his spot. I think you have to put him back, and I think Iafallo's the one that we ship down to the third line.
So now you're going to break up the third line, which is doing amazing.
Exactly.
With Fiala there.
To me, the third line is just Fiala. So I think Fiala and Iafallo on a third line together would be fantastic.
This is a good spot for us to be in. We have so many options now after all those years of sucking.
Yeah. Yeah, well, somebody's going to have to be traded eventually. I mean, I would wager to guess that was probably going to be Iafallo.
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do right now? Let's say Moore and Callie have come back.
I think they're going to keep. I mean, if everyone's healthy, they could even just run 14 forwards, right? It's at least at the home games, and we have a lot of home games these next month or so. So, I mean, unfortunately, you just wait for another injury and you have a spot to fill again.
I wonder who is the player that does get moved eventually, though.
Moved as in traded, right?
Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to go.
I think the easy one is Iafallo, just because he has the most tradable contract. But I mean, you could ship out Arvidsson, you could ship out Moore, you could ship out Iafallo. Like, if that's the deal breaker for a big name, you know what I mean? They all make about the same amount of money.
For sure.
And that's what we need to make most of the deals we need, is one of those three guys.
I used to be all about trading Iafallo, but over the last few weeks, I'm like, the Kings have played so much better with him in the lineup. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's tough. And like, I hate to lose like Arvidsson. I don't think he would get moved just because he's a right-hander, and I think we need that. I mean, I don't think that's the only reason, but yeah, I think unfortunately, like, I wouldn't really want to see Iafallo traded either. But yeah, he's making $5 million a year or something like that.
Who's that?
What is Iafallo at?
$4. Yeah, he's making $4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's probably the guy who's going to bring you back the best package given his age, and yeah.
I think the thing is he's the one who needs to be traded if we're making a trade in season right now. If we get to the off season, things change. We could trade a lot of different people because the salary cap's going to go up, and we have a couple contracts coming off the books that we don't have to. Quick's not going to be making $5 million again. Who's the other one that's a free agent? There's one more. Edler, we have his spot to fill. And like, he's not making a lot of money, but it's a guy we need to fill his space. Sure. And so if the salary cap goes up and we have that extra cap room, like, we may not have to trade one of our guys for making $4 million to make a deal.
Or we could keep him and trade a few of the young kids and a pick.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though, is if they do make a trade, like, we don't really need anything back at this point. Well, a defenseman, I guess, if you can get a
defenseman. That's what we all been talking about.
Yeah, right-handed.
Solid left-handed defenseman. We got too many righties.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
So, what are we thinking about Copley? Are we good to go into the playoffs with him? If he keeps playing like this, we don't need to look for a goalie for now?
I mean, he's, first off, Kings fans, go vote for Copley to be in the All-Star game. He's played well enough to earn it, and they need another goalie for the Pacific. And I think he has played well enough. I mean, do I think he's going to maintain this play? I mean, who knows? Goalies are so up and down, and, he could, have a bad game and it just spirals out, or he could become, I forget the name of the goalie in the Cup run in 94 who messed everything up not messed everything up, but it was like a rookie came in, right? An older rookie kind of deal. And he could be like that guy.
Yeah, is Copley only good in the winter and because he's from the North Pole, and then when it gets a little hotter, his magic disappears? I don't know.
Well, I brought up Tim Thomas. I mean, that's who you're talking about. I don't know, Darren, but
no, the Kings in 94, they had a goalie who it was Rudy, right? Was their main goalie, but then Rudy was having a bad season. Was it Rod something like that, yeah. And so he could be that kind of guy where he has.
You talking about Rick Knickel?
Season? Maybe, I don't even know.
No,
I was 4 years old at the time, so.
But yeah, I mean, Tim Thomas
history for me.
Same thing. Tim Thomas was a career minor leaguer until he got called up to the Bruins when forget who got hurt, and he was in his early 30s, I think, maybe even mid 30s, and had played only a handful of NHL games at that point. Got called up, and then like a year, like I don't know if it was that year, but within a year or two, he won the Stanley Cup, and played well the rest of his career until he retired. So it's really not that ridiculous to think that could happen. I mean,
How great would that story be for like we win the Stanley Cup with Copley?
that would be yeah, it'd be awesome.
It would be a great
For
story.
sure. But yeah, I mean, like, he's lost 2 games so far, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, he's been solid. So I don't see any need to go get a goalie as long as he continues. If he keeps this up for another month, then it's kind of like you kind of have to think that it's not a fluke. And I think part of it too is I do think the Kings are playing good defense now. They've definitely cleaned up their what that mess that was at the start of the season. So
there's a stat for that, Joe.
Yeah,
what you're talking about exactly. It was said on the last broadcast. Since block shots have been tracked since 2006, so the last 17 years, no team in front of a goalie has blocked more shots than the Kings have in the 13 games that Copley's played.
Gotcha.
Since it's been tracked in 17 years, we are blocking more shots for Copley than any team in the history of block shotting. So and so people always sit there and say, how come you can't play like that for Quick? There's a stat to sit there and show when Copley's in net, the Kings are playing a different brand of hockey.
Can you imagine if we got Alec Martinez back in the lineup? He would never see any shots on goal.
It's kind of crazy.
For sure, yeah.
All it took was us sacrificing Cal Peterson, right?
Yep.
Yeah, what's going on with him? Is he? I haven't been paying attention.
It was good to start.
He's not lighting it up. I'll tell you that.
No, it was good. It was good. His first 3 or 4 games.
I almost want to say 5 games. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2 shutouts and a 1 goal against average, and then they've lost their last 6, and it's been pretty bad. So
high scoring games.
Yeah.
Well, not optimistic that that guy's gonna crawl out of his funk. Because
still rooting for him though. But yeah,
no, absolutely,
not looking good. Not looking good.
For sure. I mean, crap, we're stuck with his contract, so you hope that he can regain some semblance of a NHL caliber goaltender. But at least he's not hurting us right now.
Yeah.
So
since we're talking about lines, quick comment about our 4th line. The last 2 games, we've won 1 game, we've lost the other, but it's the first time the entire season that it looked like the 4th line went out there with the purpose of, I'm going to run into everybody I can. And I think, and for the first 2 periods against Boston, it was helping. And then last night's game, absolutely dominated. And I think it goes to show you need some type of body contact out there just to keep things lively, just to keep teams honest, and it was cool to see Brandon Lemieux. Thank God he didn't break his neck on that fall last night. That was terrible. But the reason why that happened is because he was out there. I saw on 2 or 3 different shifts where he hit 3 people.
I was just going to say that. I counted on where he hit 4 people on the same shift.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's his job. That's what he needs to do. And if he does that, then I'll have no problem with keeping him around. But that's got to happen every game now for the rest of the season that he's in there. He's got to go out there and bang. As a whole, for that whole 4th line needs to do that. So
he on one shift he had more checks than most Kings players have the entire game.
Correct.
Yeah, he's got to keep that up for sure. You guys want to talk about defensemen? Or are we good? We good with the defensemen?
We're good.
I think the only comment is I think Durzi and Roy have figured it out a little bit. They've become a little bit more comfortable with their lefty-righty, left-hand, right-hand side stuff a little bit. And I mean, it's taken half a season, but they look a little bit more comfortable out there. They still have moments where they run around. I know that's what Rob's going to say.
Nope.
But they do look more comfortable, even 2 righties out there.
I'll make the comment. Durzi's actually figuring it. So things are running around, things are getting a little helter skelter. Instead of 9 out of 10 times Jersey being on the ice when that's happening, now it's only like 6 or 7 times he's on the ice out of 10. He's doing a lot better. He really is. I'm
He is.
and I'm rooting for. You got to understand, I'm rooting for Jersey. I like his little swagger he has. Last year,
that shot against Boston was awesome.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
Yeah, what's
he,
not
he
to
makes
like
these little
about
dangles that nobody else on the Kings even tries, and they work sometimes. So yeah, it's
and
good
then
stuff.
in the playoffs, like I said, I don't want him to be a guy that drops the gloves, but he's out there trying his hardest all the time. He really is. And do I think he meant to give that puck up the first game of the season to lose a game? No, I don't think he meant to.
You mean the point we're still chasing? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but he's out there trying, and you gotta. That's from a fan perspective. That's what's so endearing to a play. You know, I love seeing guys that try, that you can physically see them trying their hardest. It makes me root for them even harder. So it's just he's just a liability a lot of time, and he hasn't been. I would say last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, he hasn't been that much of a liability at all.
Yep.
I would still like to see Moverari or Move Rare, depending on who you are. You know, just maybe every other game with Edler or something.
That would be nice.
All right, you guys want to talk about our next game coming up? We got Edmonton on Monday night. Darren, you're going to be there, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, then I expect the crypto.com crowd to be very loud. I know you're going to get the fans all riled up.
Oh, yeah.
So we got 4 more games at home before we go on a little road trip. Edmonton, San Jose, New Jersey, and Dallas. So that's four teams that can cause some trouble for us, right?
For sure. We got the King Killer on the Sharks. We got Jersey, who was on fire forever. They've slipped a little bit recently. Dallas, who's really good, that was like a playoff preview watching that game for me.
That was a good game.
That was a good game.
And then Edmonton, who, we had a great playoff run series with them last year. It's going to be some good games.
So, just to recap, the last time we talked, we talked about 5 games coming up. There's 10 points available.
Yeah.
And we all had our predictions.
I think I was the closest, right?
No, I was. I got it bang on, 6 points.
Oh, I think I said 7 or something. I went one above. Yeah.
Yeah, I said 7.
I think I said 6 also, because we were at a 60%.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know what? I said 5. You did said 6. You said 60%. You said 6. I said 5.
All right.
So we called.
Did I win?
We called that
Nothing.
stupid Philly thing.
And that stupid Philly game.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. I didn't even see that. I just only saw the end of it. I forgot. My phone got swiped, so I didn't.
Took me 3 days to watch it. I was in Maui. I watched like a period a day.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Between pina coladas.
I imagine it was pretty painful, but
Yeah.
but no. So yeah, I was going to bring that up too, Rob, because we were talking about back then. I think part of the conversation was that the Kings can't beat good teams, and I don't know where Dallas is in the standings, but they definitely look like a good team.
First place.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Kings were toe to toe with them. The Kings could have easily won that Boston game. Just let it slip out, slip them through their fingers. But they played well.
Right.
And then obviously last night's
Vegas.
Vegas.
And don't forget the Colorado game that we came back and won.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean they've definitely taken another step. The Kings are definitely a good team. They are legitimate.
Right, and people can't. You sit there and just in the last 6 games, 7 games, whatever it is, we've played Vegas twice, Colorado, Dallas, Boston. We beat Vegas both times. We beat Dallas. We beat Colorado, and like you said, that Boston game, we were 2 periods right with them, and
we beat them the first time. Yeah,
they had a couple of really good chances in the third that they didn't bury, and if they did, that game easily could have gone the other way.
Or the Arvidsson one that trickled on the line. Like,
Oh yeah,
right.
yeah, I forgot about
Jeez.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was close. I've never seen
turning
that
point.
happen before. It like hit the post and like bounced back the other direction, like on its side. It was really strange, but
And did you notice? Did you notice for Boston too? This is people that don't watch hockey don't understand the emotional part of it. That it changes games, and Marchand gets tripped, and he did get tripped,
yeah,
and he throws an absolute fit.
yeah,
He gets all emotional, mad, and he goes out there, focuses, boom, scores.
Right.
yeah,
And then Lemieux goes out there and fights with Frederick. And what's Frederick do? He scores two goals. It's
Right.
like, what the hell?
yeah.
You know, it's the game's so emotional, and there's a toughness about it that which is why I love the game so much. That's why I'm always begging for us not to be so soft, because we need that chip. We need that emotional rush.
Yep.
We need that toughness. We really do. And that's just a small little example of what it can bring to a team. So
I hope when they do get if and when they do get another defenseman, that is somebody that's physical, because I do think that is definitely one area where the team is lacking.
Like a young Matt Green.
Yeah, or hopefully somebody with a little bit more foot speed and whatnot. But sure, yeah. I mean, you know, yeah, somebody that it doesn't have to necessarily be a fight, but I mean, I guess we got
It's like a Chris Pronger type.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not even sure if I can come up with a name that I'm thinking of, but like Mikey Anderson, he throws his body around. So does Doughty, but every once in a while, Roy. But on the offense side of things, yeah, it's just there's really nobody there that's physical.
Here's a little rumor I heard. My brother, who's kind of connected a little bit with some guys that are close to the team, he knows a guy who knows a guy. I think he said he heard Jim Fox maybe saying it too. I don't know. Matthias Ekholm, big left-handed defenseman.
He's on Nashville, right?
He's on Nashville.
Yeah. Okay.
He would fit in with Ardvi and Fiala.
Is that an E3? What is that?
That's an E2.5 maybe. But I don't mind when I heard that. I'm all like, okay, a big left-handed, really good defenseman. I don't know how physical he can get with his size. I think he plays a little soft for his size, but when you're just that size anyways, you know, you tend to naturally be physical. But I just don't like he's old now. He's 32. I hate saying that's old, but
right. I mean, we're all 32, so that's except for Darren. But yeah.
Oh, my birthday was last month. I just turned 32.
Oh, we're all 32 now. Congrats.
Yeah.
But that's something to look for. You know, I know there's all the Chikrin talk and Ekholm. There is a little backdoor grumbling about maybe Ekholm might be on the way out.
Especially, if I had to guess for this season, I don't know what his contract looks like. I don't have it in front of me, but like it's probably going to be a deal for a guy like that, where it's like it's not something where we have to give up a ton of assets for, and we don't need to send. He doesn't have a huge contract, you know.
So you're saying Walker for Ekholm? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, if they're willing to do that, I'd sign it right now. But I think there's not going to be a lot of deals this year. Everyone's right up against that cap, unless there's a lot of people who sell their cap space or buy the cap space, however you want to call it. I don't see a lot of deals being done this year.
Ekholm's contract is pricey. He's got 4 years left at 6.2.
4 years left. Wow.
Jeez, yeah. See,
what if
I don't think they do that?
What if they ate half of it?
And that's what I'm saying. The way today's NHL contracts go, teams are more than willing to wheel and deal and eat some and stuff like that. So you never know. I personally, I would like to see Chekrin come on in, but it is what it is.
I would too. I just want to overpay for him.
I just don't want to be in the spot that Florida's in, where they traded a first-round pick for Chirot last year, and now they're possibly not going to make the playoffs.
How many points are we
Edmonton,
going to get?
Sharks, New Jersey, and Dallas. That is our next 4 games.
All right, who wants to start this off? Let's see.
I'll say 5 points.
5 out of 8.
I'm going to say 5 also.
I'll say 6. Forever the optimist.
I'm there with you. 6. I think we keep it rolling. I think we'll get 2 against San Jose. I think we'll surprise Jersey. Jersey won't be ready for us, even though they're starting to turn it around themselves. And then we get a loser point in Dallas and a loser point in Edmonton. That's 6 points.
I can see that.
Actually, you know what I would love, but I'll trade it all away just to get the win against Edmonton.
I'm going to say we beat all the good teams because we tend to play a lot better with the good teams. And we freaking lose to lowly San Jose again. Kind of like how we lost to the Flyers. So.
I'll tell you what, the Edmonton game, or I'm sorry, the San Jose game on Wednesday is on TNT. And we're finally playing a team on a national broadcast where I think we're the actual draw now. You know, like the last major one, I think it was against Dallas, maybe. Yeah, it was against Dallas. And Dallas was the headliner because they're the number 1 team in the Central, blah, blah. And so that broadcast focused on Jamie Benn and Sagan and Robertson and Ottinger, all their stars. Where now on this TNT broadcast, I'm sure they'll talk about Carlson, the season he's having in San Jose, but what more can you talk about them? They're not very good. So they're going to have to talk at length about our LA Kings and how good they're doing.
Yep.
So we were talking about this last night. We were all watching the game last night at my mom's house. And it actually brought up Alex Faust and Carlin Bathe, and they're asking why am I so critical of them two? I sat there and said, well, just because when you take a look at, when you compare those two to, say, the other two that are part of all of it, Jim Fox and Patrick O'Neill. Jim Fox and Patrick O'Neill, they are guys that 100% love rooting for the Kings. And when I'm sitting there watching TV and I see guys that geek out about the team that they root for, that's when I can empathize. That's when I could sit there and, hey, they're just like me. I love the Kings. They love the Kings. When I look at Carlin Bathe and Alex Faust, I don't think they love the Kings the way I love the Kings. And that's why I get a little irritated with that whole thing.
Well, I used to like, what's her name? I always thought Heidi Androl was
dead.
Like,
exactly.
Unfortunately, she went and did like UFC stuff or something like that. I'm not sure where she's at now, but
did you guys see that Jared Stoll thing afterwards? The Jared Stoll special, A Day in the Life.
No.
So they followed him around for a whole day, and they ended up talking to his wife a lot, Erin Andrews, and she's got her LA Kings sweater on, and she makes all those clothes for, she has her own clothing line, and she has her own LA Kings thing, and she said they're showing her a couple of times going, yeah, go Kings go. And she's rooting for her husband's
guys
that pay, and it just makes me like Aaron Andrews.
I do like Patrick O'Neill. I heard him on, strangely enough, he was on the Howard Stern, what do they call it? The after show. He wasn't even on Howard Stern, but like this after show. And I don't know how he ended up on there, but then like that same week I had gone to a Kings game. And it's when they used to do the intermission on the floor of the 100 level. And I was went to go get a beer at the bar, and it was right next to and he walked by. I was like, hey, Patrick, I heard you on the Stern show the other day, whatever. And he sat there and talked to me for like 5 or 6 minutes before he had to get on the thing or whatever. I thought that was super cool. I'm like, like he was like super excited that I had heard him on there and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, he's obviously a big Kings fan for sure. Like I know he used to be kind of a goober back in the day, but like he's definitely grown on me quite a bit. Like I think he's gotten better at what he does too. Like and
it always helps though that when you can convey a genuine feeling of I like my job and I like what I'm doing for the team I'm doing it for. And from a fan's perspective, it's like, yay, you're in the same boat as I am.
All right, Kings fans, don't forget to like and subscribe and share because that is our show for today. Until next time, stay classy. Go Kings, go!
Go Kings. Go vote for Copley.
What's up? Ben Hawk.
Vote for Lubo! I mean Copley.